For more than 1,000 years, England and France have lived in a strange orbit, two neighbors separated by just 21 miles of water, yet divided by centuries of war, ambition, betrayal, culture, and pride. Their rivalry is one of the longest in human history, shaping not only Europe, but the entire world. Why these two? Why for so long? Why did their destinies collide again and again, as if pulled by forces deeper than politics? To understand why England and France became eternal rivals, we must journey back through time, across invasions, dynasties, crusades, revolutions, and empires, to uncover the roots of a conflict that forged nations. Ancient beginnings. Before England and France existed, long before anyone spoke English or French, the lands we know today were inhabited by Celtic tribes. The people of Britain and Gaul shared language, culture, and religion. They traded, intermarried, and worshipped similar gods. In many ways, they were brothers. Then Rome arrived. In 52 BCE, Julius Caesar conquered Gaul. Nearly a century later, Rome invaded Britain. For the first time, both lands fell under the same imperial umbrella, but Gaul became deeply Romanized, while Britain remained on the periphery. This early split, Roman Gaul versus semi-Roman Britain, laid the first cultural fault line. When Rome collapsed in the 400s, Britain fragmented into Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, while Gaul evolved into a powerful Frankish realm. Two worlds, two languages, two identities forming. The stage was set. The Franks and the Anglo-Saxon, first shadows of competition. By the early Middle Ages, the Franks dominated Western Europe. Under Charlemagne, they built a vast empire that looked suspiciously like the seed of a united Europe. Across the Channel, Anglo-Saxon England was smaller, but surprisingly sophisticated. Literate monks, centralized taxation, fortified towns. It was stable, wealthy, and organized. Each kingdom saw itself as a rising power. Each claimed divine favor, and each watched the other with curiosity and caution. But the real spark was yet to come. 1066, the day everything changed. If there is one moment when England and France became eternal rivals, it is this: the Norman conquest. William, Duke of Normandy, a French-speaking noble, crossed the Channel and defeated King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. England now had a French ruler. This changed everything. The English crown belonged to a man who also held land in France. English nobles were replaced by Norman aristocrats. French became the language of the English elite. For the next 4 centuries, English kings ruled half of France, lands richer and more important than England itself. Imagine the tension. The King of England was technically the vassal of the King of France. Yet he owned more French territory than France's own monarch. It was a system designed for conflict, and conflict came. A century of fire, the 100 Years' War. From 1337 to 1453, England and France waged one of the longest wars in history. A series of campaigns, truces, betrayals, and legendary battles. This was not just about land, it was about identity. In the 1300s, England and France were finally becoming nations, not just territories. Kings began appealing to national pride, language, and destiny. The 100 Years' War was as much about defining who they were as it was about defeating the enemy. Key turning points included Crécy, 1346, English longbows shattered French knights. Poitiers, 1356, the French king was captured. Agincourt, 1415, Henry IV's outnumbered army won immortal fame. Joan of Arc, 1429, a teenage girl revived French hope and turned the tide. By 1453, France had expelled the English from all its continental lands except Calais. England was devastated. France emerged stronger, united, and more confident than ever. The rivalry had now become part of their very DNA. After the war, a new age of competition. The end of the 100 Years' War didn't end hostility, it simply changed its battlefield. A. The Renaissance and the Reformation. As Europe modernized, both kingdoms searched for identity. France embraced a powerful Catholic monarchy. England broke with Rome under Henry VIII. This religious split added a new dimension: faith. Now rivalry was not only political, but spiritual. B. The rise of the nation-state France grew into the largest and most populous kingdom in Western Europe. England transformed into a maritime power. Each saw the other standing in the way of its destiny. The age of exploration. Rivals for the world. As European ships crossed oceans, England and France took their fight global. They competed everywhere: North America, the Caribbean, India, Africa, Southeast Asia. Wherever one planted a flag, the other seemed determined to challenge it. The 7 Years' War, 1756-1763. This global conflict was a turning point. England emerged with dominance in India, control of Canada, supremacy at sea. France lost vast territories, but gained something else: revolutionary anger. Revolutions and empires, clash of ideas. A. The French Revolution. In 1789, France exploded into revolution. Kings fell, ideologies rose, Europe trembled. To England, this was chaos threatening the old order. To France, England was the jealous rival trying to crush the birth of liberty. B. Napoleon. The ultimate rivalry. When Napoleon seized power, the rivalry reached its peak. He dreamed of uniting Europe under French rule. Britain vowed to stop him at all costs. Naval wars, economic blockades, espionage, continental diplomacy, the Peninsular War, Waterloo. The struggle became mythic. Napoleon versus Britain, empire versus empire, dominance versus resistance. By 1815, Britain stood victorious. France was humbled, but the rivalry endured. The 19th century, empires without end. After Napoleon, both nations turned outward, toward colonizing Africa and Asia. They clashed again, in Egypt, in the Sudan, in West Africa, in Southeast Asia, at sea. The Fashoda incident in 1898 nearly triggered war. Two imperial armies stared each other down in the African desert. It was the last time the rivalry almost turned violent, because a new threat was emerging. The 20th century, from rivals to reluctant allies, Germany's rise changed everything. Suddenly, France needed Britain. Britain needed France. Their centuries-old rivalry softened under the weight of common danger. World War I. They fought side by side in the trenches. World War II. They fought side by side again, despite France's collapse in 1940 and Britain's lonely stand against Hitler. After 1,000 years of conflict, the two nations finally realized something. They weren't enemies. They were equals. They were partners. Modern times. Rivalry transformed. Today, England and France no longer fight with swords or cannon. Instead, their rivalry has evolved into something almost playful, competitive but friendly. Sports. Culture, cuisine, diplomacy, economics, the European Union, Brexit tensions, cross-channel pride. They tease each other, challenge each other, sometimes frustrate each other, but only because they understand each other so deeply. Rivals, yes. Enemies, no. It has become a rivalry of respect. Why they became eternal rivals, the deep roots. When we step back, the reasons become clear. 1. Geography. Too close for comfort. Just 21 miles of water. Close enough to threaten. Close enough to envy. Close enough to compete. 2. Identity. They defined themselves against each other. France saw itself as the heart of continental Europe. England saw itself as the island apart, free, sovereign, unique. Each needed the other to sharpen its sense of self. 3. Dynastic claims. One crown, two kingdoms. For centuries, the kings of England were also French lords. This made war inevitable. 4. Religion. Catholic versus Protestant faith fueled hostility, suspicion, and propaganda. 5. Global competition. Empires that collided everywhere, from Canada to India, they clashed wherever ambition carried them. 6. Pride, two nations that refused to bow. Both believed they were destined for greatness. This combination created a perfect storm, an eternal rivalry where every victory felt personal and every defeat felt existential. Conclusion: a rivalry that made Europe. So why did England and France become eternal rivals? Because fate placed them side by side, because ambition pushed them into conflict, because identity shaped them into opposites, because history bound them together. Their rivalry lasted over 1,000 years, but from that rivalry came the world we know today. Modern warfare, global exploration diplomacy, nation-states, ideas of freedom and sovereignty. Both nations were sculpted by the pressure of competing with one another. Today, the rivalry remains, softer, friendlier, but still alive. The English Channel still separates them, but history binds them in ways neither can escape. Two nations, two identities, one rivalry that shaped a continent. That is why England and France became eternal rivals. If you found this story fascinating, like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel, where we explore the civilizations, ideas, and mysteries that shaped humanity.